As of this day, it is my masterpiece of this recording. This is my favorite fucking thing that I've ever made.
What's going on? My name is Johnny.
Right, you're hyping my ass up, man. Let's just go right fucking into it, man. Or did you have a story you said you're gonna tell?
Oh yeah, I did. Oh god. What was it? Oh yeah, about the festival, the film festival.
Yeah.
We get in, right? We're about to check in, and for some reason we weren't in the list. So I'm like, what the hell? Like, how are we not in the list? Like, we submitted the film like on time and everything. We got everything done. So then I find out, oh, I accidentally sent it to the wrong email because I just made one small mistake on the name. So I was worried. I was like, "Oh my god, are they not going to premiere our fucking film?" I was like,
That'd be
God,
devastating to get the hopes
dude,
up and then crush.
I was worried. I was worried as piss, but we were so fucking lucky to get it on there. We talked to the technicians and all of them. I emailed the video to the technician. I made sure the email was right this time so we could actually get it done. And the person in charge of it actually works at the school I was at. So, because when I met the lady who was in charge of this, she was like, "Oh, you guys are from Triton. Oh, that's awesome. Like, yeah, we'll try to figure this whole thing out." So that was super nice. My God, we were fucking lucky.
Good. So
Honestly, the instructions were like kind of weird to follow since like this was like their first like attempt into like doing this.
yeah.
So I guarantee you, the program is probably gonna like increase over time. I would think, because
Hopefully it doesn't get worse.
no, because for what it was, for what my experience was, it was pretty good, and almost everyone was like, they asked the question at the end, should we do this next year? And everyone was like, yeah.
Yes. Who would say no, honestly? I mean, I guess unless every single film was like dreadful to get through or something.
Well, the other requirement is like it's got to be like less than 15 minutes or something like that.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
And
see, in a way, I kind of like the qualifiers for challenges like that because when I was younger, I used to not like those. I'd always go out of my restrictions, but like I kind of like having the restrictions because it already, like in a way, forces a story around what you're given to work with already. The length of time, the time you have to take to film it, the props you have to work with into it, certain lines of dialogue you need to fit into it. That already can help you make a story. And like all on its own, especially if it's a shorter amount of time to make it, because you just have make anything that can be worse because it's like, well, like what should I make, like, and have it be short, and what should be in here to impress anything. If you have goals or things that you're supposed to hit, challenges, then that makes that's stuff that they'll be looking at. So things around those requirements will help, like, have you make a better film, I think.
Not only that, all that stuff you just said, we had to do, right? But we had to do it in 2 fucking days.
And that's what I was saying, the short amount of time to film it all. So you have to get the script, the props, everything, and edit it, and all that within a very short time frame. So it's like you don't have time to dilly-dally with the script, really. You've got to get something down and film it and edit it.
Yeah, because here's the story about the whole thing. Obviously, I didn't film it, or I did film it, but I didn't write it. I didn't write the script. Some of us, I think, whoever could make it, like one of us had to like join a Zoom call for this thing, so they can like give us the details and everything on how to start and everything.
Yeah.
And we talked in the group chat, like, okay, once the Zoom call is ended and we get all our details, you guys got to like come up with something like right away.
They do that all the time on like on this, I was gonna say on the Sci-Fi Channel, like the Face Off show, and like Lego Masters and whatever, like these different shows where they have like a challenge to do whatever skill they have. They have like 3 days to get everything done. It's like first day is concepts, get all that figured out. start with a base of something. Next day, apply as much as you can. Third day, you've got to present it by the end of that day.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like that's in a way that can sometimes maybe make better work for people in a
Yeah.
way with how
And
short it is and how much time you got to use with it. It's
yeah,
weird.
and like there were a few bits in that script. Like there was a whole like joke that one of the guys like wrote in there, and I like read it because I was gonna like direct it. I was gonna like direct parts of the movie. Sam directed a decent amount, but I also had to like come in and direct some of the reshoots that we had to do
Mm-hmm.
because he wasn't available for that. Um, but I looked over the script and I told him like, okay, the script is fine for what we're doing. We're gonna cut this joke. Like we're gonna erase this joke because it fucking drags,
Yeah,
and it's no one, the audience is not gonna like it as much. So
no,
he was just like, yeah, that's fine. I kind of expected that
yeah.
because I was like reading the script and that kind of like threw me off. I'm like, yeah, dude,
Yeah,
like you
sometimes the
can't.
flow can be ruined. Even if it's a good joke, it can just ruin the scene where it is. It's like it'd work here in a different
Oh,
way, maybe, but
see,
sometimes it doesn't,
it
just won't
started off
fit.
like the joke was fine from the start, but like as I was like reading the script, it just dragged. Like the
Yeah, no.
dialogue and stuff. I'm just
In
like,
my Fat Speedster script for the short film that I'm filming at this moment that we're recording this, there's a whole comedic bit like or there's like a conversation that was funny. I was like kind of replicating a conversation I had with my mom about movies where she was like, "Oh, what's that movie with the people in the girl's head?" And then she was like, and then she said, "Oh yeah, it's inside me." Or something. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, it's like the way she said inside me was like so weird, and I was like, oh, inside out, like what?
oh
What?
yeah, that
Like it's like such a mom thing. Or she's like, what's the movie with Goldie Hawn and Amy Shoemaker? Or she said Shoemaker. She didn't say Amy. She said was Shoemaker and Goldie Hawn. And I was just like, Shoemaker, Schumer, Goldie Hawn. The okay, right, the getting and John or with Keanu Reeves calling him like Canoe Kevin or something.
Kevin
I'm just like,
Reeves,
I don't know. She just couldn't get the name in the head. She's like Canoe Knievel or something. She just would not get the name right. I was like, I don't know.
canoe leaves.
Yeah, she just wasn't getting it. And then I told her the name, and then like the next day she forgot the name again. She's like Canoe Cananabilu, like just
Man,
not
like
getting it right. Just
of
it's like
all
such a mom joke thing, which
of
is
all
funny.
of
So
all of all of all actors, like I'm surprised you would forget how to say Keanu Reeves's name right because he's just such a, I
well, I
don't
mean,
know.
for her, she's not a super movie person, and she doesn't know a lot of
Yeah,
these actors, so she'll forget. She knows who she's talking about in her head, but just does not know the names all the time.
not
But like I said, she
not.
knew Goldie
I get
Hawn.
it.
She knew of her from other stuff when she was, from her older stuff. But then a lot of newer people, it's like she'll get the names all mixed up with some of that. So it's funny.
Yeah,
So I had a joke. I had a couple of jokes with that. There was like a full page of that type of joke, and I was like, no, at best this might work if I maybe cut it in half, and if I want to move it to a different part later for another thing, maybe. But you got to be willing to cut some of your own stuff, even if you think it's funny. But it would ruin the whole flow of the scene. Is my point. Because
yeah.
it'd be like
That
there's a more important part that comes after that, and it's like this is just kind of filler now. So no, gotta trim
exactly.
it down, trim it down.
That's what I was telling him. I'm like, we're not gonna. This is not gonna be in the final cut because
Yeah,
exactly like you just said, it's filler
yeah.
and
It's funny filler, but it's not good tone for keeping people's interest really in
it's
what's
no.
going on. This is just here. It's here. It's like
Because
okay,
you know it
yeah,
it brings me to a pretty good topic that most people, I feel like you might even have this problem too since you're getting into filmmaking, is a lot of movies we're getting today have like completely unnecessary run times,
yes,
and I'll be honest, some of them work for me,
yeah.
some of them also do not.
Yeah,
Like
I brought this
it.
up on the show on the physical media show
Mm,
uh, today or earlier today when we were recording. I was because Chris Gore's been mentioning that a few times, and I was
I was just gonna say Chris Gore
yeah
made a video on this, and
yeah
he's talked about it. He's talked about it multiple times recently. Especially,
yeah.
he mentioned it because the one of the more recent films to come out was Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, which I enjoyed personally for what it was. Yeah, it's got a few issues here and there, but like I enjoyed it. I also enjoyed the first one as well. I will say that the runtime is too long for that movie.
Hmm.
Other
Well,
movies I
well, I
could
mean,
think.
so when you say that, so the key part that makes it too long, I didn't see that film, but what makes a
Okay.
film too long for me is useless scenes that feel like
Yes.
they don't need to be in here, so it feels longer
No,
overall. You're like,
like I'll tell you right
yeah,
away, because I've gotten some experience of like making films
yeah,
already. I feel like I'm more used to picking out certain things, kind of like you
yeah.
in a way, like because there's like four scenes where Miles Morales is Miles Morales, by the way, and
Hmm.
is talking to his mom, and those scenes are really good. Like I like that mother and son bonding, and even his dad to a point. But there's like four scenes of that, and it's like that's too much. I mean, they're good. I like them. Like I love the family stuff, but like you can like cut some of that out
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make it flow better.
To make that make even more sense, Mahler was discussing this, I think, with Critical Drinker at one point on one of their streams, and like he mentioned, like Terminator 2, like there's a lot of great scenes between the
Yes.
Terminator and John, and like if you were to argue, technically they could have done more, like have more scenes where like maybe John's playing a video game and like the Terminator comments on it or something, and they have some understanding, and then there's another scene where I don't know they're fixing something else, and then he comments, but it's like, okay, like at what point is there like too much of this? Because you're gonna kind of be like, okay, like we kind of get it now. We know we have the scenes that have shown us this, and this is just more of that. But
Yeah.
where are we going? Like just because they're good doesn't mean that it needs to be in the story for the flow. There's a flow
Yeah.
that needs to kind of be met as well.
And you know, they're even like I'll say this, like I'm trying to think of the few films I've seen like recently. I'm talking about like films like I think of like that came out recently, like in the theater that I saw. I saw Steven Spielberg's The Fablemans in the theater. I enjoyed that movie for what it was. It's got some problems in it, but that movie is too fucking long. Again, like I get it. It's Spielberg's personal story. I get it, but and I actually like a lot of the stuff in it when it comes to the filmmaking and how I forget the character's name. His name's Sam. He doesn't go by Steven or Steven Spielberg or anything. It's made up characters, but like it's about his story. And there's a lot of fucking shit, like a lot of scenes between him and the mom where
Hmm.
it fucking like drives me crazy to the point where I'm just like, I get it, but I don't
Yeah,
care.
and the first two scenes that happened, you're probably like, yes, solid, nice. And then there's another one, and you're like,
No, well,
we're just here, we just did this.
like the parts with the family, I'm like, I'm fine. Like you need that, you need those parts, but it's too much.
Yeah.
And I get it. That was probably like a big thing, like it during your childhood was like your relationship with your family. Because I know, like in real life, I think his mom was like fucking crazy in
Hmm.
real life. So that's kind of why she acted the way she did. I think she was probably much worse in real life, I guarantee you. But
Yeah.
um and compared to his relationship with his dad, it's a little not as aggressive, I'd say. Um but no, so like a lot of the stuff with like the mom in my opinion or like really just you could have cut a ton of that out and you could have like done the story should have been more towards like him making low budget movies with some of the people he was working with making short films with a Super 8 or all
Yeah.
those other the Bullax that he gets later. It's like that's all great.
Yeah.
And all the filmmaking techniques that they like point out, I'm like, oh my God, like this like this movie like could have been like even better than what it was. Another film that I I was like super disappointed with, and part of it had to do with the runtime was Damien Chazelle's Babylon, which flopped in the box office. Um,
Okay.
Same guy who directed Whiplash, which I know you loved. I
Yeah.
loved too.
Fuck yeah.
Whiplash, that is probably his best movie by far. Babylon, I wanted to see it because I loved Whiplash. I liked La La Land. I thought that was pretty good. Not a big musical guy, by the way, but that's one of the exceptions. And I liked First Man. That was a Neil Armstrong biopic starring
Oh, right,
Ryan
right. Yeah.
Gosling.
Yep.
Yeah, he directed that as well. So I was like, I'm hoping to like this movie, and it starred Brad Pitt and Margot Robbie. And it was weird because they marketed Brad Pitt as like the lead man in it, but he wasn't. He was just a side character,
Right.
which I'm like,
Got more butts and
and
seats,
they
probably.
they yeah, exactly. Like they gave it to
Yeah.
this Mexican dude, like this new young Mexican actor, the lead, and I'm like, I mean, he's okay, but he's not Brad Pitt. I'm
Right.
sorry. Like Brad Pitt is more of a leading man than this Diego Calva guy, which I think is how you pronounce his name.
Right.
But there's a lot of scenes, and the movie's 3 hours long, by the way. So
Yeah.
that alone is like, oh my God, you could just cut like an hour off of it, and it would have been
It,
like a
it,
good 2 hour movie.
it's kind of funny. Like,
Because
yeah, when
because
it
there's a
comes,
bunch of because here's the thing, I like the premise of it. It's about Hollywood like transitioning from silent to sound. I really like that. There's some good scenes in that movie, but then there's parts to it that are like completely unwatchable. Like
yeah,
there's some disgusting shit.
the film The Artist did a really good job at doing that same kind of thing. Now that one's really good. That's
No.
literally a story. It's like it was made in 2011. It's a story with like an actor, like living. He's a silent film actor, and then he meets a girl who's like getting more into the. They just started doing sound and stuff to the things, and they do a really good job showing that transition in
Yeah.
that film. I think it's less than 2 hours long, so
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
it's digestible.
Yeah, exactly. Like I just thought that movie should have been
Yeah.
like you could cut an hour off because there's like a ton of
Oh,
fucking
yeah,
filler
I feel
in the
like that's
movie.
that's one of the things too. It's like the way I think about it now. Like I was able to watch a lot of horror films because they're like all an hour and a half long for the most part.
Yeah.
None as far as I can
Uh,
tell. There might have been one that was 2 hours, but
like
it was
like
like most of them were an hour and a half, and I was like, that's the perfect amount of time before I'm going to be like, let's go, let's finish up. What
yeah,
are
I
we
know.
doing here?
Like
Let's
like
wrap it up.
yeah, like for horror and comedy, it's like 90 minutes, that's it. Like at
Yeah,
least.
yeah.
Like
Like
and
if you're gonna be longer than 2 hours, it's got to be justified. Like ever since I saw Lord of the Rings is the best example of longer better because
yeah.
they don't waste your time with what
Well,
they're showing you. It
well
all
here's
adds to the piece regardless, and if anything, makes it better than when they cut it. You lose stuff. So it's like you need it there to be good.
Oh
The
yeah, but
length
here's
important.
here's the reason why, and some people might be disappointed, but I haven't seen the extended cuts yet of the Lord of the Rings. I
No,
know, I
I just
know,
I
I
just
know,
saw them
I
for the
know.
first time like 2 years ago. So
Yeah,
and I'm older than you, so
yeah.
not in as
I
bad
I
position as I am.
I own them on 4K over there, by the way, which I know. I guess they're not the greatest transfers ever. I don't know. I'll have to check them out myself, but I want to check the extended cuts out. It's just I gotta have the time to watch long ass
Yeah,
movies.
it's tough.
Like
Yeah, it takes a whole half of your day up, pretty much.
I know,
Just watch one of them.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like I watched not too long ago, The Green Mile with Tom
Oh,
Hanks.
yeah, I like that
It's
one.
a 3 hour movie, and
Oh yeah,
I brought it on I brought on my 4K not too long ago, last week actually, on the physical media show as I'm recording this, and I told him like this is a good example of a long movie that actually flows really fucking well.
Yeah, the scenes that are longer in that one build to the tension and emotion
Yes,
in it.
yes,
Like if they
and
were cut, it would be a lesser effect. But
yeah, and I
just like them
and
walking down the hallways, it's like there's a lot going on here, but just without even any dialogue, just the expressions, the looks, whatever. It's worth it. That was a really
oh
good
yeah,
film. I only saw that film once when I was younger, but it stuck in my
hmm
head. I remember a lot from that film, so that was a good
yeah.
one. That was a good one.
And the reason why it worked with the runtime was because, and it makes sense. Tom explained this to me, like from Midnight's Edge, and he explained to me like at that time there weren't a ton of films that were like super long with filler bullshit or any of that stuff like we have today. So
Hmm.
that's why running times weren't that much of a problem because you actually had directors that were smart and all that. And I think another reason why movies are longer now is because digital is a part of it. Like there
Yeah.
wasn't digital back then, there's digital now, and you can shoot like as much footage as you can
Yeah,
digital.
it's a lot cheaper to shoot. It's easier to shoot.
Yes.
It's well,
I
and we brought this topic up on the show tonight. I haven't been on in a while, so I talked a lot of this stuff
yeah.
with them too. And yeah, he said that like yeah, they used to fight. It was a lot harder to fight for a 3 hour movie. Like the studios and whatever, what the people would be like, no, but so you'd have to really earn it to
Yeah.
get it. So you
And
couldn't just have any Joe Schmo have a 3 hour movie and release it in the theater.
yeah.
You'd have to really be worth it being in the theater,
And
essentially.
it's actually really good that you brought up the Lord of the Rings movies because, you know, um Script Doctor actually made I think you guys talked about this on your channel once about runtimes and stuff. Like Peter Jackson, who was a, you know, indie filmmaker back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing now, honestly. Um,
Yeah.
but no, but like, he made like some lower budget movies and stuff. Like
Yeah.
some of them were horror movies and some of them were like this guy who directed Meet the Feebles and The Frighteners, he's directing the Lord of the Rings movies? Like it was one of those things. But, you
Yeah.
know, but those films were a lot shorter compared to the Lord of the Rings movies. So
Yeah.
he he had that prior experience of, okay, I've done all this, like I can now like expand and make this all work. Like so, and some Christopher Nolan's even the same way. Like he made a 1 hour film called Following, and
Okay.
he like premiered it. It's shot in black and white, real film, and he like premiered in Sundance, I think, or no, Slam Dance, I think is what it was.
Hmm.
Chris Gore told this story. Like he premiered it there, and that's when he got to do Memento and Insomnia and Batman Begins, The Prestige, and like so on and so forth. And he started making longer films because it's like, he's gotten a lot of experience and all that. And
Yeah.
Oppenheimer coming up is gonna be like 3 hours long, but I'm a little less worried about that considering this is like an historical piece.
Yeah. It
And
could be really good. I'm hoping that it's not a waste of time,
yeah,
essentially,
no,
with it.
because yeah, like honestly, I'm okay with that considering like considering his track record, I think
Yeah.
he'll do okay with 3 hour runtime compared to some other
Well,
directors. Like
yeah.
like
Like,
I heard I didn't see the movie, but Beau is Afraid, that's Ari Aster's recent movie. That
yeah.
movie's 3 hours long, and I heard most people who have seen it says it's a piece of shit. Like
Yeah.
mainly because of that 3 hour long runtime, but I heard it was just a
Yeah.
bad story overall. So
Yeah.
right there alone, in that movie, like he's like A24 like gave him I don't know how much fucking money and it fucking flopped
Yeah.
because of how much they spent on it. So that like there is a good example of why you shouldn't do like like you shouldn't have to do that much of a run. Like you
Yeah.
should like cut it a movie like
Well,
that from what I've heard. But like,
yeah.
and to talk about more recent movies that are 90 minutes long, um, Megan, which is one of my favorites this year. It's a horror movie.
Okay.
And Renfield with Nicolas Cage as Dracula. That's 90 minutes long,
Yeah.
and it flows like perfectly. It's like yes, just keep the 90 minutes. Like that was really smart of Universal to do.
Yeah.
Like don't make it 2 hours long. There's no reason to.
Yeah.
But that was a fun movie, and
Good.
and I'm like good. Like finally, like we actually are getting some movies that are not that long.
Yeah. Exactly. My cat's joining right here. But